We've heard from a town manager, a system operator, and a system design engineer about alternatives to make subsurface wastewater treatment a viable option in compact growth areas. Now let's hear from the state regulators about how to keep these systems functioning properly for 20 years and beyond.
Advanced treatment systems have made it possible to place septic systems on many lots that were once considered marginal or even unbuildable. Can you describe the most popular types of pre-treatment equipment that are approved for use in Maine and what problems they are designed to address?
Well, I think far and away the most common type, broadly speaking, is what we call an advanced treatment unit. Essentially, these are small-scale versions of the same processes that take place in municipal wastewater treatment plants. That is to say, they're adding oxygen to the equation. As to the problems which they were designed to address, I think it was twofold. The first being to attenuate the pollutants in the first place, and the second, and sort of a byproduct, if you will, is that by applying a high oxygenated effluent to the soil, you can reduce the footprint of the disposal area roughly 50% compared to a conventional septic system.
Is there anything that you can do for chemicals other than like nutrient type things, nitrates and phosphorus?
Any chemicals that come through as part of domestic waste pretty much aren't treated by the tank. Sometimes they're stored by the soils at the end, but it depends a lot on the chemistry of those contaminants. So anything you put down the drain that's very soluble, chances are it's going to end up in your groundwater.
So best to avoid dumping poisons,
right.
pharmaceuticals, etc.
Unless you want to drink them later.
Unless you want to drink them later, yes. Thank you. Can you explain your concerns about the proper maintenance of septic systems, especially for the multi-user or clustered systems with 3 or more properties that are tied into a shared field? Why is a separate management entity required? Is a homeowners association able to take on this responsibility? And what other options are available for developers to consider for management, particularly for these clustered developments?
Well, I think the biggest concern for maintenance, regardless of the size of the system, is lack of regular maintenance. We recommend that homeowners, for example, have their septic tank pumped every 5 or 6 years to remove the buildup of insoluble materials. These eventually take up a sufficient amount of space that it reduces the tank's working volume and thus its efficiency. As far as the multi-user systems go, we don't see a lot of those going in. Can't really say why. We can allow something, but as to whether somebody chooses to design it or not is another question. I would suggest that the same maintenance issues would apply. The advantage being with that maintenance entity, you can be assured as a homeowner that somebody is actively watching over that system and taking care of it. I say this with all kindness, but the typical homeowner probably isn't the best manager of the septic system. For most people, it's a matter of flush and forget, and I think this is particularly true for people that were brought up on public sewers. It's just not on their radar screen. But with the management entity in place, that's somebody's job, literally, to make sure that system is maintained and cared for.
So what if the management entity is a homeowners association? Are they necessarily going to make that a priority for all the reasons you mentioned?
Well, a homeowners association could certainly be the management entity. As to whether or not they follow through on it, hopefully they would. I mean, that's the burden and the responsibility which they assume when they do this. And I guess I would suggest that if they aren't doing so, then the homeowners aren't getting their money's worth.
Perhaps they could hire a professional to do it for them.
That would be typically what they would do. They would retain somebody who's knowledgeable in the profession. Could even be one of the certified inspectors, most of whom also are in the business, say for example as septic tank pumpers or septic haulers. You seldom see the certified inspectors having that and only that on their resume.